What's up, everybody? Welcome
Guys,
back to Locky Top. How you doing, Frank? How you doing, Andy? Thanks for joining us today. We're going to be talking a little bit of a bunch of college football. We have a big matchup coming up with Kentucky. We got Penn State, Ohio State to preview for you guys. We'll do some messing around with the ESPN playoff predictor like we did last week. We'll go over week 9 winners and losers. And then we'll talk about the World Series. It's going on right now. Yankees clinging on for hope versus Dodgers. I
they
think
got it.
this chat is predominantly Yankee fans. So for now, Josh isn't here, but yeah, 1-3 versus Dodgers, and games going on right now as we speak in New York. But we will start off today with our best bets. We'll go take a look at our handy dandy tracker here, and we'll take a look at what happened last week. In addition to just picking up for week 10 and having some of our best bets for you guys. Andy, do you want to start with what you were on last week and how you did?
Yeah, so funny enough, guys, I think this is actually the first week I had a sub 500 week picking on the podcast. Which is pretty good streak, right? 22 and 12. So still very happy about that. But a lot of I took a lot of underdogs, as you can see, and they all got wrecked. Syracuse. Navy versus Notre Dame, Illinois versus I think it was Oregon, and then Wisconsin. So that kind of sucks. But then the other underdogs, Oklahoma and Nebraska, came through. So it saved me from going like 0 for 6 or 1 for 6. And then A&M, I just feel like. I think I actually talked about this when I picked against A&M on week 1 Notre Dame game. Just felt like they just kind of like find equilibrium. They like start out shitty, they win some strong, and then they find their way to like 8-4. I think they'll do better than 8-4 this year. But anyway, so that was my logic. 3-4, not that great. But we live to go another day, and then. Should we talk about yours, or should we want to jump to the?
I'll cover Josh's. So okay. Josh went half NCAF, half NFL. He lost on both his NFL picks. Shocker.
NFL's hard, guys.
Cowboys plus 4.5. Disgusting game. Tampa Bay plus 2.5. Just too injured to get anything going. Texas minus 18.5. He lost on Vandy with the cover. I had the opposite side there. And then the guy hates Penn State, and he will nonstop fade them. So he's got Wisconsin plus 6.5. I think that should be a loss, actually.
Yeah, that should be a loss because I have it as a loss right there.
Okay. So that's 0-4. So Josh is now at 53%, guys. So one thing I'm noticing is I have double the picks as you guys, and I'm kind of hovering around 50%, and maybe we're seeing some mean regression right now. As everybody gets a larger sample size of picks,
right.
50% becomes much more likely. I didn't do too bad. I went 5-4-1. Ever since my TiVo promise to you guys, still positive since then. So it's a new season for me after the promise. I lost right with Andy on Syracuse there. Terrible pick. I think they were down 31-0 at half. I'm very
3 pick sixes. That's incredible.
Yeah, 3 pick sixes. Also, all in the first half. I think he had 5 picks total.
Mm-hmm.
Just insane. Louisville punt, Illinois punt, and Kentucky punt. But everything else was a lock. Penn State lock, Vandy lock, BYU still undefeated against the spread and in real life. So I'm going to take that till the wheels fall off. Oklahoma. I pushed on Tulane and Boise State. So 5-4 for me and 32 and 33 right now. So 49%, right under 50% basically. So I'm going to get that number above or below it. So you can take some picks here. I'll just do Josh's picks real quick for this week since he only has two. Tennessee minus 16.5 and Florida plus 16.5. We do have Frank on the pod for the first time in a while. Mr. Ice is back, but he's giving you college football locks this week. So, Frank, why don't you talk us through what you have?
Yeah, so Duke versus Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Miami's going to win, but they've been starting off really slow for the most part in the first half of a lot of games, and they've had to come back and win a lot of games. So this is another one of those games that's going to be less than 2 touchdowns, maybe like 10 or 13-point win.
One thing I want to point out, Miami was, Frank's like an early pick to be like, incredibly strong throughout the season and all. So it is a big surprise to me here that Frank is taking against Miami. But, that's what you got to do, right, guys? Like, you can't just ride the wheels fall off.
Yeah, so I've watched a lot of Miami, and they play close games for the most part against better teams. So this is a close game against Duke. They're still going to win. They're going to be 9-0. Miami's one of my favorites still for the national championship. It's all on their quarterback. They got a great quarterback, but it's all on him to win the game every single snap, every game. So
he lets down.
Cam Ward.
Yeah, Cam Ward. He lets down quite often, but he does come through for the win at the end. Seems like every single time. So, it's one of those tight games. Then I'm looking at Army. Air Force, that is like a 45-0 win for Army. I don't think Air Force moves the ball. I think Army just absolutely eviscerates Air Force.
Like it.
It's a shutout. I think it's like 45-0, 48-0, something like that. So Army is a big bet for me this week. I'm going to put probably, one of my biggest ones of the week for college football is Army. I think Ohio State's going to squeak by at -3. I think like 5 or 6 point win or something like that. Close game, but they definitely have an edge in that game. And then Indiana's been like my wagon pick all year. They just can't lose. Some of my biggest bets when I've been down a little bit for a week or two, I just pile Indiana and they always come through. So Indiana, let's start that bet up earlier this week and just learn from the past few weeks and just bet that right away instead of waiting to bet it. So Indiana, I love piling that one. Army, I love piling that one. 2 smaller bets for me would be, like the next level bets would be the Duke bet and the Ohio State bet. I wouldn't put a lot of faith in the Ohio State bet, but Army and Indiana, those are huge locks this week. I don't see those games going any way, but each team winning by a lot of points. Okay. So that's what I see.
All right, Andy, let's give us your rundown. Andy, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, guys. So I have 8 picks, hoping to go like reasonably, like 5-3, 6-2. Because I also realize I have some conflicting picks versus Naveen here, but let's see. So Arkansas plus 7.5 versus Ole Miss. And I just saw Lane Kiffin complaining about how many like noon games he's getting versus like when he has to play LSU, for example. And I kind of agree with him. Like it seems like even Tennessee this year, just always a night game. Same for LSU. Like ESPN loves to pump out Death Valley as like the night game at Death Valley, incredible, which it probably is. Unfortunately, I didn't get to experience it because they put the game versus Tennessee on noon a couple of years ago. But I just feel like every time coach kind of like goes out there and complains, I feel like it just kind of like start to making excuses. Just for that reason, I taking Arkansas. Also, like they didn't look that bad last couple of weeks. Ohio State is, I feel like, James. Franklin at Penn State does, beating up other teams incredibly well. But then, when it comes to beating like Ohio State or Michigan, not so much. I mean, given their like talent pool disadvantage and all, I think it's kind of unexpected. And, I think going 10-2 every year is an incredible achievement. But, just going off of that, like, I feel like I don't think Ohio State this year is as good as like the years where they had like CJ Stroud or anything like that. But, just got to go with the trend. Ohio State is incredibly good at beating up everybody, including Penn State. Tennessee, Kentucky, I would generally say, there are two teams that Tennessee always beats up. Usually is Kentucky and Vanderbilt, just as we always lose to Florida and never cover the spread even when we win. So that's my reasoning there. Virginia Tech looked incredibly strong last couple of weeks as well. We unfortunately missed out on going to a game. But we watched the game together during Roman's bachelor party. They looked good. They looked good last week. Florida, Georgia. I think my first doubt was that Georgia, played like they just, ran all over Texas. Like, why wouldn't they run all over Florida? But, it is a rivalry game, neutral site, but still in Jacksonville, like 200 something miles away from Athens versus only an hour drive up from, Gainesville, hour and a half. And I just feel like, these games could just go, in crazy ways, and I think could be a letdown spot for Georgia as well, because they're kind of like looking past Florida already. So that's kind of like my reasoning. South Carolina at A&M, similarly, after a huge win versus LSU, with the backup or the second string quarterback, and then Memphis is just kind of like I just was kind of looking through the spread, and then just thought that line looked very attractive. I think this is going to be like a 10-point victory. And finally, Army. I just wrote that up after Frank mentioned it. I didn't realize Army Air Force was this week. And as a former Army guy, I feel like I have to take Army, especially,
they're good.
Yeah.
Army is really good this year,
especially after Navy lost this past weekend. Gotta ride the Army.
That's probably the biggest bet all week. Like on all of our boards, I think Army minus 22 is probably the biggest bet to make. I just don't see that game going anything but like 50-0, 45-0.
Yeah.
I don't see how it could do anything but that.
All right, I'll just quickly run through my picks. Tulane minus 14.5. Charlotte is terrible. I'm going against the grain here with Penn State. Don't trust Ohio State quarterback. And I think this, if any of the years of recent past, this is the year that Penn State can do it. I might sprinkle in some money line there. Virginia Tech -4, just fading Kyle McCord here. I saw him throw 3 picks in the first half last game, and I bet on him, so I'm fading the fuck out of him now that I have that information. Duke, Frank laid a very good thesis down for Duke. One of my bigger bets is going to be Vandy money line versus Auburn +225. Almost Vandy again. Beat Alabama within 3 versus Texas. Obviously, going to Auburn is a tough game, but I think give me the +225 here. Should be a lock. I threw some money lines in there just to spice things up this week. So, my next bet is Georgia. Ever since the second half of the Bama game, Georgia has looked really good, and I think they'll demolish Florida. Indiana, we've talked about it ad nauseum. A&M, I think that they found something with their second half performance last week versus LSU. They kind of switched the QB, and he crushed. So I'm going to ride that QB, hopefully to the promised land, -2.5. Pitt, ML, +240. Pitt is one of those sneaky good teams. They're at 18 right now. I think they're really, really, really good team, solid, can put up points. and can take away the ball. So plus 240 there for Pitt, and
what's the spread on Vanderbilt?
plus 7.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm probably
so-
going Vanderbilt plus 7, pretty big there.
Okay.
Wow, Vanderbilt plus 7. That's versus Auburn.
Yeah, that's
Vanderbilt's
why I'm
good.
taking ML, guys. Like that
Yeah.
just seems like a fucking smash.
Seems like
line.
plus 7's a lock.
Dude, maybe
Well,
maybe that's a minus 7 there. You know,
I
that's,
think I
yeah,
think that's a game to focus on for sure.
I might do that just for the
They're-
fun of it.
They're tough. Vanderbilt's a tough team.
Yeah.
They could easily be up in the first half by 10 points or something.
The quarterback is like pretty legit.
Yeah, Pavia.
Plus 7, pretty easy actually.
Yep. So I just threw the ML in there just to keep it interesting, and I
Yeah.
want to get off this 49%. And there's only one way to do it, and that's smashing these pluses. Army minus 22. Obviously, we talked about that quite a bit. So just going with Frank and Andy's big read here. So
First
that-
to fight for the right, for the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along.
there we go. Thank you,
There's-
Andy.
Army's a huge lock. I think Vanderbilt plus 7 is a huge lock too.
Mhm.
Thinking about that pick, definitely.
I like it.
And Indiana too.
Yep.
Maybe parlay those 3, just ship it in there.
Yep. Retire early. Don't go to work. Special.
Just, yeah, break the bookie this week.
All right. We do have a game versus Kentucky this week. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on how we were going to do. Obviously, we just came from their last game. We all went to Alabama, Tennessee with the dub. They covered and won outright. They looked pretty good in the second half, pretty awful in the first half. I just want to get your takeaways, Andy, on what could be the keys to beating Kentucky. I think, frankly, Kentucky offense is nothing to really worry about, but their defense has shown signs of doing especially well versus Georgia and other teams. So, what are the keys to winning versus Kentucky, man?
Yeah, it's gonna be in the trenches. I think if and O-line has been our weakness last like month or so, but like you said, in the second half, it looked like they found some momentum. And especially like once Nico came back in, it felt very different, right? Like in the first half, he was afraid to run. And he was just like trying to force throws in the pocket instead of taking off with the ball. It almost looked like he was so afraid of getting hit, and maybe he was. But then once he got hit, I don't know what happened. Maybe he thought, "Oh, okay, that's it. Like, okay, these SEC linemen hitting me. Maybe it's not that bad." I don't know. Maybe that's a hopium, but I hope because like in the second half, they like actually looked pretty like decent. Moving the ball and everything. So I hope O-line can find some rhythm, kind of like looking back at them and say, hey, like we stood our ground versus like a Bama D line, right? Like, and Bama defense isn't like terrible. I mean, they're not like great, but again, like Naveen said at the beginning of the pod, they beat Georgia, and like you don't get to beat Georgia just by a fluke. So like obviously like the running game, I saw that the Auburn running back ran all over Kentucky. And that's where Tennessee actually has the best running back in the SEC, right? Dylan Sampson, he leads the conference in rushing touchdowns, leads the conference in rushing yards. Like just because of the Boise State running back, Ashton is just doing crazy video game numbers. Dylan Sampson is not getting the spotlight, but like he's putting up like a very like Mark Ingram or like a Derrick Henry like numbers, and like I feel like if they can get him going, especially against the Kentucky defense that just gave up 200 something yards to the Auburn running back, just find that success early, block for the run, occasional throw obviously to open up the running lane. I'm not really worried about Kentucky offense because I feel like Tennessee defense has proven itself at this point. Like we're pretty good. Like I would argue their defense could be like top 3 in the country. I mean, we saw that all throughout when we were in Tennessee, right? So
Yeah, Tennessee defense is pretty solid. I mean, they kept them in the game, the Bama game. Without the defense, that game's over. Like first half over. I thought the game was over at halftime. Honestly, we were all about to leave.
Yeah.
You know, so their defense kept them in the game. They have a great defense. The spread's 16.5 in that game, so it's like one of those weird hook spreads where I think it's like 14, 17, 20-point win for Tennessee. So I don't think I could even bet that game, honestly. Just seems like a coin flip, but they're going to win the game, you know?
Right.
It doesn't matter if they win by 10 points or 14 or 17, you know?
And it's gonna be a night game, and you guys saw how different the stadium was during the day versus once the sun went down. You know, like the miserable, like, you know, it's kind of dead crowd to just kind of place rocking, like hitting like 130 decibels.
Yeah,
unbelievable. What do you think of the environment?
Yeah, I mean, that was my first time back in 9 years to Tennessee. Much better seats than last time. Better quarterback for us than last time. So I mean, I was very impressed with. I guess we were sitting on the visitor sideline, and they did like a Florida effect of
sun shining down,
direct sunlight down in my face. I was sitting next to our other buddy Thomas, and we were just surprised how can it be 70 degrees outside and 95 in my face? Like, you know, I've lived in Texas before. I'm from India, but direct sunlight in your face at 70 somehow was rivaling that level of heat.
It's like it's also right next to the river, the stadium, so that there's enough humidity there to like bother you.
Yeah, and it was funny. Like, if you stand up in your seat, like, it's fine, but if you're sitting down, it's cuck. So just very interesting way to that. You know, it was set up. As far as the stadium and the atmosphere was awesome. I really liked our tailgate that we signed up for. Shout out the School of Communications. Very good spread. Very organized event. Bathrooms. So for you Tennessee fans out there looking for a free tailgate and a department to, you know, give money to, communications all the way.
I made a $100 donation, you know, after we got back. You know, I did a similar thing when we went to LSU after they hosted us. You know, I feel like, you know, it's like tax deductible and whatnot. So.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a really good event. I really liked our Airbnb. Also, next time, I would also like to stay in somewhere similar that I can walk to the stadium,
but it's not too right there that you get just stuck. Yeah,
right. I mean, me and Frank walked back with our cigars. Made the 3-mile walk back.
Did you guys like stop by any tailgates and like hang out with people? Because we kind of did, like just like yelling and shit.
We didn't.
No, we walked straight back. But what was funny was, like my shirt that I was wearing during the day, the yachts were all blowing their horns at the time. They were going crazy on that Henley Street Bridge. So, really good time. One thing I will complain about is we got to get this fucking internet fixed.
Yeah.
It's impossible to find your friends. We were trying to contact Andy and Thomas, and it was just a little bit of shit show. So,
no internet in Tennessee, the whole state. It's just
internet. Just phone signal during the game. It's impossible to contact your friends. So, I would say have a plan, or just like, you know, everybody needs to know, you know, get all that information out before the game, before you even enter the campus. But yeah, great environment. And I think honestly, going back to this game versus Kentucky, like, if we play the game that we can play, we can beat anybody, literally anybody, in this college football, in the whole thing. I don't see a team that's that much better than us. It's just,
especially at home.
Yeah, at home. Can we protect Nico? That's number one. Is Nico going to make quick decisions? That's 2. And 3 is probably like, hey, guys, let's not forget that we're a SEC football team. We play defense and we run the ball. So those are the keys that I would say to take away for this game. We do have another bigger game, top 5 matchup coming up. Penn State versus Ohio State. We talked a little bit about it in our best bets and betting preview, but I want to get your guys' thoughts. Penn State versus Ohio State. I'll give mine real quick. I think that this is a terrible line if you're trying to bet Ohio State. You saw it go from -3.5 to -3. You have injured Penn State QB, basically Drew Aller, and it's still moving opposite. That's, red flag, sus alert for me. That's why I'm going Penn State. I definitely don't trust the Ohio State QB. Everybody else on Ohio State is fine and probably going to make the NFL, so they're good. But the QB is how you cover the spread. So don't have much faith in him. And if they don't win this game, Ohio State, they're pretty much out of the playoffs. So we'll play a little playoff prediction with them as well. But yeah, your guys' thoughts. Let's go Frank, then Andy.
So Ohio State's only losses to Oregon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way I see it is they should have beat Oregon, so Ohio State could easily be undefeated. Penn State's barely held on to some wins. They could have 2 losses right now. So they're due to lose a game, Penn State's due to lose a game. And Ohio State, I think they're going to beat them. It's a weird spread to look at, 3 points, I don't really like that. But I'm still going Ohio State just because I think Penn State's due to lose. It could be a 2-point win, though. So, I'm not putting heaps on it, putting something on it, because I think Ohio State's going to win. But it's what if they kick a field goal to win by 2? Something like that. It feels like a weird game to put too much money on,
Okay.
But Ohio State should definitely win the game.
I
don't see where I don't see the spread though. I don't get it. I also don't get it. Why can't it be 10 or something or 8?
Right. If it was 7.5, I would say this is an Ohio State smash, but it's it's plus 3.5 and moving the other way. That is saying Penn State. Andy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I already talked about this, but one thing that Ryan Day does really good is beating up Penn State, and one thing that James Franklin does incredibly well is beating everybody up, but then losing to Michigan and Ohio State. Luckily for him, this year Michigan is not the powerhouse that it was the last few years. So I think 11-1 is a realistic goal for them. And then quite frankly, this 12-team playoff format is like a match made in heaven for teams like Penn State, right? So I think the pressure is almost not as much as the years past, where you lose those games and best you could do is a New Year's Six bowl, like a sugar or whatever bowl game that you go to. I just think that Ohio State losing to Oregon, I agree with Frank there. I'm not actually that big on Oregon this year. I feel like they've just shown kind of their vulnerability. Obviously, the quarterback's just kind of putting it together, Dylan Gabriel. But that all being said, I think even though this is at Penn State, James Franklin has to kind of prove it to me that he can consistently beat these teams. Kind of how teams were picking or people were picking Bama to beat Tennessee. I mean, I sound kind of hypocritical here, but I've watched 3 or 4 Penn State games, like a full game, not just that game, but on a multi-screen this year. Not really impressed, and I watched maybe 2 Ohio State games, just because other than the Oregon game, their opponents were kind of not worth watching. But that all being said, I liked what I've seen out of Ohio State better. Even though it's kind of funny, like you guys said, spread is kind of sauce. The Ohio State quarterback saying shit "Oh, well, Penn State didn't give me a scholarship, so I got something to prove," and all that. It's bro, but Ohio State didn't give you scholarship initially either. Like
Yeah,
you
dude,
came
you're
from
the
transfer portal. Like, what are you talking about? Like
Just
so.
an idiot kid,
Yeah. So, but we'll see. Like I also feel like it being a noon game. Like I feel like if it was a night game, I might have just chosen the home field advantage there. And we've seen how like home field advantage in college is just so huge, especially when it's like a night game and drunk people yelling, and not getting
Not gonna be not gonna be nearly as loud, right?
right. Like noon games, it's just hard to like be like that when it's like sunny and just like you're just getting dehydrated, you're getting cooked.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly wanted to talk about the fact that it's at noon. This is a Big Ten cuck fest.
Yeah,
they have a concept called Big Noon Kickoff, and they wanted to put this on Fox at noon. And really, as a fan looking at today's schedule, this is a clear 7:30 game.
Makes no sense. Why is it at noon?
Like I can kind of see why Fox likes the noon slot, because also like Big Ten, it's generally like a colder climate and shit, right? Like, but all that being said, like, even Naveen, like you and I experienced, like we went to Death Valley, like home field advantage wasn't there, like because the stadium just doesn't get as loud. Yeah. I'm sure if that Tennessee LSU was at night, we could have walked out of there with like a 10-point loss, like who knows. And same with Bama game, right? Like once the sun went down and crowds started getting loud.
I will say maybe they did it for I don't know, some sort of like anti-alcoholism prevention kind of thing.
No way in Big Ten.
I mean, dude, so in high school I went to a Penn State game at night. It wasn't like a whiteout game or anything like that. I think it was like West Virginia, Penn State. Pretty rowdy group of teams, and basically they had to cut off the alcohol sales in the second quarter because it was just too Shrek. I mean, obviously, like they didn't do that for this reason, but I can tell you, Penn State at night is crazy. Probably similar to LSU, in terms of how much animosity the teams have. Big rival game, but I think this is an example of like corporate greed kind of ruining the fan experience. Like, what am I gonna like? What seriously? Like, what am I gonna watch at 7:00 here? Like, there's really minimal options for me.
EPL, baby.
I mean, 7 p.m., dude. Like,
Texas, 7 p.m.
Yeah, Texas A&M, South Carolina, Pitt, SMU. Like, those are okay games, but Kentucky, Tennessee, but
it's not gonna be like a fun game to watch.
Yeah, it's not gonna be something I'm looking forward to. Instead, I gotta go straight from my EPL, Andy, to this like right away.
Right.
So it's an interesting DJ.
And I'm sure the Big Ten fans hate it too, because like noon games and tailgating and everything just such a hassle.
I mean, for most of them, it's 11 a.m. and then
even earlier.
Yeah, for UCLA, it's 9 a.m.
Fucking 8 o'clock in the morning.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, I mean, I had some friends that went to Penn State, and they were like, for 12, I need to wake up at 5 a.m. and start drinking. That just seems like very dangerous kind of.
You're done by like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, just passed out.
Yeah. Let's take a look at this playoff predictor, ESPN app. Josh and I kind of did some experimentation on it last week, but let's take a look. So these are the top 12: Miami, Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, Texas, Ohio State, Indiana, Tennessee, Boise State, Notre Dame, BYU, and Alabama. And these are like the first 6 out: A&M, Iowa State, Kansas State, Clemson, SMU, and Army. I do want to play around with Ohio State today. We took a look at Tennessee last week, so let's see how this goes along. So basically, they're going to give you the toughest matchups left. So they're going to go Indiana and Penn State. So obviously, if Ohio State wins here and they win versus Indiana, and let's say they win versus Michigan, remember, will Ohio State win its conference championship game? I don't know. Let's say let's say no for shits and gigs, they're going to have a 98% chance to make the playoff. Now let's fuck this up a little bit. Let's go Penn State here. Let's go win versus Indiana, and then win versus Michigan, and let's go no again. They have their 99% goes to 25%. So basically, if they lose versus Penn State, they have to win the championship game. But I just don't see how they're going to get into that game if they don't win this game, right?
Because they don't have the tiebreaker, right?
The must-win game,
right? So this is basically their season for Ohio State. Let's say if they don't make the game, they have a better chance. So like one thing we noticed last week is like if you don't make the game but you win at least one of your bigger matchups, you will make the playoff. This is interesting, right? So we're basically saying Penn State wins, so they'll have 2 losses and they'll beat Michigan and they won't make the game, but they can still make the playoff. And if in this scenario they're saying that Ohio State will be a 9 seed, they'll lose to Notre Dame. Penn State will be the 1 seed, very interestingly, and Texas will be the national champion. So this is a very weird scenario.
Pretty ambitious for Kansas State, pushing Indiana and Miami.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So, is there any other team that you guys want to see this for?
Texas?
Let's do Texas. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had Texas lose, right? Texas versus Florida. What do you guys think, Frank?
That's a win.
Okay. Andy, Texas versus Arkansas.
That's a win.
Okay, and Texas at A&M, Andy.
Let's give this one. Let's try both just to see how the numbers.
Could be a
change.
loss that game. It could definitely be a loss.
Yeah. So will Texas win its conference championship game?
Doesn't make the game if they lose to A&M because there'll be 2 losses in the SEC.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're basically saying 2/3 of the time they'll make the playoff in that scenario.
Sitting at 10-2.
Even if they lose.
Yeah. So they'll face off against Indiana.
And they'll pay after losing.
Rematch with the Texas A&M there. Interesting.
Yeah. Rematch with Texas A&M.
Wins the rematch. Wow.
Wins the rematch. They have to play Georgia. They'll beat Georgia, and they'll play Frank's Miami
rematch
team.
Again. Wow.
Pretty funny.
Yeah, Frank's Miami team, and Miami will win.
Wow.
What if we do lose the conference instead of lose the conference game instead of doesn't make the game?
13%.
13%. Okay.
So as you can see, guys, it's way better to not make the game than to lose the game.
Right. Makes sense.
Especially with the 2 losses, right? Like it all changes here if they run the table. And then
you can't not make the game at 1 loss.
Right. So they're still going to make the playoff here. If they don't make the game, although it's impossible, it'll be 99%. If they do, yes. But
they want to see Manning back in there. Tired of watching Ewers play.
Yeah, I want Manning too. And basically they're saying like, dude,
take his ass out.
If they go to if they run the table here, they will be, they'll make they'll have the bye, and then they'll lift. Very interesting. These guys have Alabama in it. I just think it's very, very interesting that no matter what, you're gonna see these 2 teams, Alabama and Notre Dame, in these fucking playoffs, no matter what.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think it's interesting. Like Miami can run the table. Miami can basically do no wrong at this point, unless they go like 0-3 their next games. Even if they lose to Clemson in their title,
and then they both make it. Clemson and
both
Miami.
make it. Yeah. So yeah, those are the cases where one of these teams will drop out. Most likely Notre Dame or Bama will drop out if that shit happens. But
let's look at Bama before wrapping up.
Yeah.
'Cause I
So
feel like
let's go
Bama's
back. Let's go back to Bama.
interesting.
Their toughest games: LSU, Oklahoma, and Auburn.
So let's
Those
check
are all-
out how the numbers change with the Bama beating LSU and then Bama losing to LSU. Because I feel like that might be the de facto elimination game for both schools,
Yeah. Bama loses to LSU, they're done.
right?
Yeah,
But
so
they
they're
went
not-
out, you know.
Yeah,
Doesn't make the game.
doesn't make the game. They're gonna
Oh, 97.
So
Yikes.
if they lose this one, basically they're not gonna make the
Yeah,
they're not gonna make the game.
right.
Your team did not make the CFP.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happened. So basically November 8th, next weekend, that will be the fate for Alabama or LSU. But yeah, one team I wanted to talk about sneaky is A&M. Like A&M can make the playoff if they seem like they're the only team with the unblemished SEC record. I just want to. I'm not going to go through the simulation for A&M, but I just want to see the toughest games left. So they have this week versus South Carolina. I think they'll do it versus Auburn, and then they have Texas. So even if they lose to Texas, like they can still easily make the game. So let's say we have A&M here, A&M here, Texas here. Let's say
Well, they're gonna make the championship game in that case, right?
yeah. So let's say no for this. Dick.
So no is if they make it and lose. Okay, 63.
Yep. If they don't make the game,
Wow,
93.
93.
So yeah, guys, like it's pretty crazy. Like A&M probably gonna make this playoff.
Yeah.
So,
They're
I
pretty
mean,
good.
beating LSU was huge there.
Yeah. So yep, just some more playoff predictions for you guys, and obviously this is coming from ESPN. Take everything they say with a grain of salt. Almost all the time they're wrong, so don't get too caught up on the playoff predictor for them. Obviously, we didn't do Tennessee this time because they didn't play, so I feel like it's kind of the same as what we covered last week. But we'll probably cover them again as we go down. Around the league, who were the winners and losers of last week? I'll start with LSU. Clearly a fucking big time loser for me last time. They failed to cover and failed to win versus A&M. They seemed like they were in control of the game all the way deep into the third quarter. A&M switched the QB on them, and he fucking torched LSU. So I thought that was a pretty cool one. Do you guys have any other big winners or losers, Andy?
Notre Dame. I feel like they, I mean, like we knew that undefeated Navy, like it wasn't like their record was like a same level as like say like a undefeated Oregon or Indiana even, and then I think Indiana's resume is still kind of weak, but Navy, but just kind of like proving that like just really on defense, just forcing fumbles, getting like fumble sixes, pick six as Navin likes to call them, so many fumbles, and just kind of like just running all over Navy team. I feel like we can shed on Notre Dame for losing to NIU at home, but what we've seen from the playoff committee is that they're willing to like sort of like turn the other way for bad loss if you have like a solid record or like good wins, and if Notre Dame can continue to finish out strong, right? Like they beat Navy. They'll play USC. Their Texas A&M win just looks better by the week as A&M does well. So that's gonna help. And I think that was like a big like a 14-point spread, just crushing that. I feel like that was a relatively speaking, like a huge win for them, and then solidify their like playoff chance from like say like 30% to like 60%.
Yeah. Frank, I want to let you do a little celebration dance for Deion Sanders. 6 wins at this point.
Told you.
Your big 2 predictions of the year were Miami and Colorado, and those look like the sexiest teams out there. So just
Currently up 750 units this year, guys.
yeah.
But winners and losers too. I had a couple. Syracuse last week against Pitt, massive letdown.
Yeah.
Syracuse season over basically. The only team to watch that I have still is Ole Miss with 2 losses. They're a top 25. They beat Oklahoma last week. I think if they can beat Georgia in a couple weeks, Ole Miss is going to sneak into the playoffs. And they got a good quarterback, Jackson Dart. He's tough, you know. So Ole Miss is still alive, I think. But yeah, Missouri's another big letdown. 34-0.
Smoked. I think Bama took all their Tennessee frustration out on
They beat the piss out of Missouri.
Yeah, and that was really good for Tennessee too, right? Like it proved that Bama, just because like Bama lost to Vandy and they played South Carolina close and lost to Tennessee, like it just looked like they weren't good, but then they went out there and just shut them out. Like I don't know if you guys saw that they brought the starters back in just to like stop Missouri on the goal line stand. Just to like get a shot out, and I was like, all right, you know, I like that. That's like Nick Saban shit, you know, like
I just want to.
You can never take them off the board.
Yeah.
I just want to add that Bama will probably be undefeated if they never step foot in the state of Tennessee. So, I mean, when they're at home or when they're playing elsewhere, they look pretty good. Just can't get it done versus Vandy or Tennessee. So. Just the eastern half of Tennessee crushing Bama. Very, very funny, very interesting kind of paradigm. And I do want to say that this is like shaping up to be a classic scenario where the 12-team playoff is just as controversial as the 4-team. As a fucking BCS guy, who believes in Illuminati and believes in like, you know, letting things happen and committees and things like that. Like this is just gonna be as controversial.
If not more.
Yeah, this is gonna be crazy. Like
4 is cut and dry. 12 is not cut and dry.
Yeah, 12 is like anybody.
Notre Dame, Bama. There's all these teams that can win a national championship potentially if they bring their A game. Like Bama could win the national championship this year if they want to. If they wanted to win, they can just go win.
Right. And I think there's a bunch of teams like that, and there's also teams that are undefeated but are very sus. Like, you know, you guys think Penn State is sus. I kind of still think Miami is sus. Like, I watched that Virginia Tech game, and I still don't know how.
Cal game too.
The Cal game.
Like, there's a lot of Miami tight games that they won, but Army also, like Army's going to be undefeated. They got to be in there.
I know. Like,
no,
what are we going to do?
They're going to not put Army in?
I don't know.
They go undefeated?
Is that even fucking legal to?
No, because if they are like the highest ranked, outside of the Power 4, I think you get like an automatic spot. Like right now, Boise State is there, but you know who knows by the time.
They'll have to cuck Notre Dame to do that, Andy. So I don't know if
they're not going to. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it depends on how Notre Dame plays out. Also,
Notre Dame loses, they're done. But if they win out, they're in. There's a lot of weird ones though. Like there's
Indiana
right there. Indiana's another one undefeated, right?
Oh, Army and Notre Dame actually play each other. So
BYU
it's a playoff to get in.
BYU undefeated, ATS and straight up.
Yeah.
My favorite team.
There's a lot of sport. Like teams that'll probably get their ass kicked by Bama. Like all those teams will get smashed by Bama. You know, but they're undefeated. Like you know.
Yeah. So what do you?
And we saw like what happens when situations like that happened last year with Florida State. You know. You think going undefeated versus like a bullshit schedule is gonna, save you, but then try playing Georgia.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Texas learned their lesson. You know,
loss
hey,
on
they
the
thought
first half.
they're number one team in the country until they had to play, Kirby Smart going batshit crazy.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what they do when these teams are all undefeated. They have to put them in there, unless their quarterback gets injured the last week. And they're just like, fuck that team, like Florida State last year. Like, undefeated, but not that good,
Right. They've shown that they're able, and they're willing to do that. So
Yeah.
Sets a
It's
precedent.
interesting to see how the rest of the season shakes out.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. We're closing the show with 3 people from the New York area, so we have to talk about it. World
Yankees up.
Series. Yankees down 3-1. Dodgers on the doorstep of glory if they want to be. But I'm looking at ESPN right now. Yankees 5-0.
Oh shit! Bases loaded.
Bases loaded, no outs. Otani's on deck, and then it's
1 strikeout. There we go.
Yeah.
So this is the perfect time to take Yankees to win the World Series right now, this moment.
It's not going to get any better.
Bases loaded, heavy leverage the other way, and they just got to win 3 games, Yankees are starting to actually hit the ball right now. They've been playing like absolute dog shit the first 3 games, like borderline pathetic baseball to watch. Aaron Judge, 50% strikeout ratio. He actually got a hit yesterday,
Got a home run today.
Home run today.
He's actually going to play baseball now. Like he's there. So him, Stanton, Judge, Judge, Stanton, Torres, all these guys are Volpe grand slam. See how this inning shakes out, I guess. Top of the 5th, bases loaded.
Yep, 1 out now. But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about Judge. He really has been shitting the bed until yesterday and today. It seems like he's turning the corner, and I think if they have Judge going on and Judge playing like he does in the regular season, they could beat anybody, right? Like,
yeah,
they have their ace going today. They have fucking what's his name, Garrett Cole.
Dealing up until this inning, it looks like. We'll see.
Yep, we'll see. Funny enough, the line for how far he'll make it is 4 2/3. So we're right at the fucking line.
I mean, he's not coming
1/3 now.
So. Yeah, Cole versus Otani doesn't get any better than that, right?
Yeah, 2 outs now.
Fuck out Otani. Let's go.
Boom.
Yeah, so I mean,
that's big.
No team has ever come back from 0-3. But if anybody were to do it, I hope it's the Yankees. Like, I think like we'll go down in history as a team that faced one of the most stacked lineups and stacked teams out there and just crushed. I also want to mention Freddie Freeman absolutely destroying the baseball. What he's doing, crazy. 6 straight home run, 6 straight games in the World Series with a home run. He beat George Springer's record, and he's absolutely crushing it.
With a hobbled ankle or something, right?
Yeah, with a fucked up ankle. On sports radio today, they were saying that he's hiding steroids in his veneers. He's getting the power from his teeth. That's kind of a joke that New York sicko sports media is making, but yeah, really, really. The 2 most stacked lineups, 2 highest payrolls. What's funny is I was a huge baseball fan. Not having Yankees or any team I know in the World Series for a long period of time really decreased my viewership. And now I'm watching every game. 5-1 now, guys. So I'm not
gonna say I feel like I gotta watch an episode from like the beginning of the baseball season. Yeah, but I remember saying something like it's going to be a classic baseball Yankees Dodgers matchup. I have to see if I actually said that.
Okay.
I know I said like Yankees Red Sox, something like that. But it seemed like that year a while ago. I have to look.
Yeah, we'll go back and double check Frank's predictions. And
glad to see it there,
Yeah.
Big
yeah. Big at bat. Frank, why don't you narrate for us what's happening?
I got a fucking 2 outs, strike one, 1-1 count.
Who's at bat?
Freddie.
Freddie Freeman. Yeah. Need a strikeout.
Need a strikeout here. So first of its kind, live look into what's happening live.
Yeah. Bases loaded, 2 out. Freddie Freeman, the home run master, at the plate. And we need him to not hit a fucking home run right here.
A
Home run
double.
here might end the series for the Yankees.
Yeah.
So home run ends the series. It's tied 5-5 in the 5th. That's a good game for Garrett Cole. That's season over for Yankees.
Right. It's gonna be like demoralizing to see Garrett Cole just give up.
Yeah, it's one pitch is the difference in a baseball game. You know,
Yeah.
like Freeman's walk-off grand slam is just one pitch out of like 300 pitches. So like this pitch in the 5th inning in a baseball game with Freddie Freeman at the plate, it's the difference in the game. It's only the 5th inning, but if he strikes him out, no, ground ball, foul. Like if he doesn't get him out and keep the score 5-1, this could easily be a Yankees loss tonight, season over. Let's see how it goes here. Top 5, bases loaded, 2 out, 1-2 count on Freeman.
Yeah, I mean, if that happens, I think the guy that would have to do it for Yankees would be Soto. Like Soto's gotta come through. If it's 5-5, it's gotta be like a Soto walk off or some bullshit. Yikes!
No, don't say yikes. I didn't see it
Yeah. Yikes.
yet. Yikes!
Yeah.
Grand slam?
Yeah. No.
Oh god. Tilt.
Well,
Let's tilt. He fucking smashed the ball. Great.
Yeah.
2 runs, 5-3.
So we'll leave it off there. 5-3
game over.
Yankees.
Yankees
Game
lose.
5.
7-6 final. Freeman walks it off in the 9th. Get out of here.
Yeah,
All right,
it's feeling like very like a Tennessee football for me because I think I mentioned this multiple times where Tennessee used to be good. They had like a 10-game winning streak over Bama or some bullshit until I started watching, and then they like lost 15 straight. I got to New York in 2010, and that was the year after Yankees made the World Series. So it's crazy. But anyways, I'll stop there.
Definitely a sweat the rest of the way here.
Yeah.
Not feeling good about the Yankees now.
So we'll let you guys sweat out the game at your leisure, but we're leaving you off 5-3. It's been a great episode. We talked about the game versus Kentucky. We previewed Ohio State, Penn State. We talked about our best bets. We messed around with the playoff predictor, and we looked at some winners and losers for last week. We'll be back next Wednesday to cover what happened, and hopefully we'll have a better defined playoff picture.
Go to the Yankees parade in New York City.
Maybe, yeah.
If that happens, are you flying to New York for the parade?
I'll be in. The Yankees win the World Series. You kidding?
All right, let's do it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Good night.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.